Women have been conditioned by society to be, act, and think a certain way. Here at Girls IRL, we encourage women to challenge societal norms and embrace their femininity. With that being said, let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls in Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Mariah Clayton, and happy last Monday of April. Yeah, I don't know what it is about this year, but it is flying by, and I don't know how I feel about it, okay? We are back in the daytime, baby. Last week, we had a nighttime episode, and those get a little bit crazy sometimes. So I'm happy to be back recording in the day. I'm glad that I found some time this week to get it done. But I did just want to say a quick note. We have a lot of new girlies in the girl gang, and I am so happy and excited. So I wanted to welcome any of you who might be newer listeners, or even if this is your first time listening to an episode from me. I am so happy to have you here. I've been doing this podcast for almost 4 years now, and it has honestly just been like the best thing ever for me. My podcast family is my favorite little corner of the internet, and I'm super grateful for anybody who sits and listens to me talk for 30 minutes to an hour. But anyways, I hope that you guys plan on sticking around for the long haul because I'm not going anywhere. Also, this is not always going to be our podcasting setup, me literally sitting on the floor of my bedroom. I do have a studio, and I'm supposed to be getting it together, but I just haven't yet because honestly, y'all, with this house, like I feel like we did so much at the beginning when we first moved in, and I low-key kind of got burnt out. Like I'm over painting, I'm over trying to figure out what needs to go where, trying to find furniture. Like it is just so exhausting. So I just felt like I needed a little bit of a break. So that is why I'm still not in my studio yet, but the studio renovation is coming and I am excited for it. I just have to find the motivation to actually get it done. I did tell you guys last week that I had a little job interview, and I did get the job. So I just kind of want to talk to y'all a little bit, and then we'll dive into today's episode because I know some people don't like when I'm in the intro for too long, but this is my time to like share what's going on with my girls, okay? So you can always just fast forward just a little bit. But I did apply for this job. I'm going to be a podcast manager. Oh my gosh, it sounds so official. But there's a local content creator. Well, I guess she's not really local because she lives in a different city than me, but she's local to Louisiana and she is starting a podcast. And so I ended up applying for her. Like it was an assistant position at first for me to just like help her with content creation and editing and creating graphics and stuff. But then when she saw my resume and saw that I do a podcast, she was like, I've got to use you for something else, so I want you to be my podcast manager. So basically what I'm going to be doing is what I do for myself for her. I'm going to be outlining episodes for her. I'm going to be sourcing guests for her, filming and editing, creating reels and graphics and stuff for the podcast. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing. I do have to drive 2 days out of the week to go work where she's in. I'm not going to say where she lives, but she lives about an hour and 20 minutes away from me. So 2 days out of the week, I will have to like make that drive, but it's really not a big deal because I've made that drive before. I went to grad school out there, so I'm not a stranger to the drive. And I don't really mind it. It's literally only 2 days a week. So I honestly think it's going to be worth it. And y'all know I've been looking for a job for a minute. So I'm just happy that I have a little bit of something that will bring me one, consistent income, but two, also give me another like creative outlet because I do love, being creative and doing things for myself, but I also want to try my hand at seeing if I can help somebody else build something. So I'm very excited. We're starting from ground zero. And if you've been following along, I'm a builder. Okay. Like I have built so many things from the ground up. So I'm not new to this at all. I'm very excited about the opportunity. And I just hope that I live up to how much I hype myself up. But I am very excited. I will start that on May 7th. So literally next week, by the time you guys are hearing this, I'll be starting my new job. And yeah, I'm happy about it. So that's really the only major life update that I have for you guys. So we're just going to go ahead, dive into today's episode. Today, we are talking about all of the things I wish I knew sooner as a woman. So I made a list of a few different things that I was honestly just clueless about growing up and didn't learn about these things until way later in life, when honestly, if I would have known these things sooner, maybe I would have been all right as a child. But I guess a little backstory, I was very sheltered as a child. I don't want to say I grew up very religious, but my parents, they took us to church every Sunday. We couldn't watch certain shows. Like I couldn't watch That's So Raven or Harry Potter because it was like magic, right? I couldn't listen to secular music. Like we just had a lot of rules and regulations in my house. So I kind of lived in this little bubble. And a lot of things that most young women learn in their teenage years, I did not learn until I was well into college, and even some things just a few years ago. So I thought that it would be fun to kind of just think about what are things that I wish I knew sooner that possibly would have made my transition into like puberty and womanhood just a little bit smoother. This episode will probably be more so kind of like big sisterly advice, and I know a lot of my listeners are well into their 20s and 30s and don't really need big sister advice, but I thought that it would also be kind of funny and maybe even just a little bit relatable if I shared a list of things that I didn't know, because you might have not known it until later in your life as well. So if you are in your 20s and 30s, please stick around. We can all have a good laugh. But if you are someone who is younger, maybe in high school, fresh in college, this is definitely going to be like big sister advice that hopefully will help you on your womanhood journey. Okay, first thing I have on my list is different types of underwear and when to wear certain underwear. Okay. Now, when you're in middle school and sometimes even high school, you really don't have a lot of control over the type of underwear that you get to wear. At least when I was growing up, you didn't. Like my mama was not letting me wear no thongs. It wasn't no lace. It wasn't no silk. Like it was straight cotton pack panties from Walmart, and I just had to live with it, So I feel like today's times are a little bit different in that sense, but also at the same time, like I did not know that there were kind of these different uses for underwear. So for instance, like when I first started wearing thongs and like sexy underwear, I would just wear those all the time. Like I just thought that every single woman in the world was always wearing some nice little lace panty, had a thong going up her butt crack, and that's just how she was living in the world. But as I got older, I realized, one, it's not healthy for me to be wearing thongs every single day. It's not healthy for me to be wearing like these very suffocating underwear and stuff like that. So I learned very quickly, like these things are not good. I actually have a very funny story about the first time that I wore a thong. So oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Okay, so the first time I wore a thong, I thought the part that goes in the back actually went in the front, okay? Because it made sense to me that the small piece goes in between your lips and not in between your booty crack. Like you want the bigger side to go on your butt and you want the smaller piece to go in the front. So the first time I wore a thong, I literally had it on backwards and it was so uncomfortable. I kept having to like dig my underwear out of, you know what I'm trying to say. Okay. It was just not good and I was so embarrassed. And I remember asking my older sister, I'm like, hey, am I wearing this right? And she's like, no. So that's literally just goes to show you how clueless I was when it came to stuff like this. And my mom was not helping me in this regard. I don't want to say I don't know if my mom wears thongs, but I think that she would have just been a little bit uncomfortable trying to show me how to wear a thong. So I just didn't know. But yes, as I got older, I understood that like you wear cotton underwear, you wear something that's breathable, you have your period panties, and then maybe you're not even wearing underwear at all, right? Like as you get older, you learn that different types of underwears and suffocating your vagina can actually cause yeast infections and make you smell bad and all other kinds of stuff, right? So I learned later on in life that there were different uses for different underwears, and now I have a plethora of knowledge about underwear and when to wear them. Okay, next on my list, I have how to shave and the best methods for hair removal. again, I don't know if it was just my mom, but she never showed me how to shave. She never sat me down and was just like, this is how you do it. This is the tools that you need. And like, really just showing me how to do it, right? So a lot of these things I was just doing what a way that I thought that it was right, and then I grew up and realized that I was doing it oh so very wrong. So when it came to shaving and like getting rid of my hair, more specifically my pubic hair, I was not very gentle. I used very, very cheap razors. I did not use any type of shaving cream or any type of like shaving oil. It was literally just straight Dial soap, not even Dove, just Dial soap. And I was not going with the grain. I was going against the grain. I was going in every single direction that you could imagine, just trying to get my vagina as bald as possible. And that caused me to get a lot of razor bumps. I had a lot of darkness in that area, and it was something that I was honestly very self-conscious about. And I hated the way that my vagina looked for a long time because I pretty much mutilated it with my razor. I did eventually transition from a razor to doing Nair, which honestly is probably not that much better. I just don't think Nair is the best way of like removing hair, especially pubic hair. Maybe I might use it on my legs today if I ever had to, but knowing what I know now, I would not put Nair on my vagina ever again. But back then when I was in high school, I had no idea. So I'm just like, this is what I have to do like, in order to get rid of the razor bumps. Like I just have to put all this Nair on and then wipe it off. And I did that for a long, long while. But when I turned 21 years old, I decided, you know what? I'm a grown woman. I need to go and get a wax. So that is when I started getting Brazilian waxes when I was 21. And I've honestly never looked back since then. I feel like my hair is at the point now where it just grows back very slowly and pretty thinly because I have been getting waxed for such a long time. Waxing has also helped lighten up my dark spots a little bit. It has also helped me get rid of the razor bump. So I am very much a firm believer in waxing, sugaring, anything of that sort. I do feel like I want to get into laser, but I don't know why I'm so nervous about laser. I feel like one day there's going to be a commercial on TV that was like, if you got laser hair removal back in 2023, then you are like, I don't want to deal with that, but maybe one day I will. Maybe when I have, big girl money, I can do big girl things like getting laser. But yeah, I definitely think that if I had somebody teach me how to shave or even just how to like use a razor, like go with the grain, use something that's going to like help condition your pubic hair, like an oil or a shaving cream. Make sure that you're exfoliating, right? Like I did not have anybody to walk me through that process. So unfortunately, my vagina had to pay the price for my ignorance, but we're all good now. The next thing I wish I knew sooner was kind of like understanding my menstrual cycle, because I feel like, again, I'm speaking for me personally, I'm speaking from my experience growing up with my mom. And I don't know if your mom is like this, but maybe she is. But my mom, again, just never really had these conversations with me. I just don't think she was very comfortable with it. I think that she would much rather me just kind of figure it out on my own, which is fine. But I also feel like it would have helped me, again, just kind of understand myself and my body a little bit better had she told me some of these things. And maybe she didn't even know her own self. Like, I don't know. I can't say that she did or she didn't, but she just never really sat down with me and was like, this is your menstrual cycle. These are the phases. This is how you're going to feel. This is how you put in a tampon. Like all of these different things that, again, I did not learn until I was like in college. And even learning about the different phases of my menstrual cycle, I did not know what that was until I was like 22 years old. So it's just sad that like girls really aren't getting taught these things at a younger age. I feel like now they are, especially with social media and specifically TikTok, because you can find all kinds of stuff on TikTok. But I feel like back then it was kind of taboo to talk about things like that. You know, it was just kind of this thing that happened once a month and you just dealt with it and you moved on. But now we know and understand that there's actually deeper things that go on in your cycle and how that plays a part in your mood, in your hormones, and all other types of things, right? So I do wish that I would have understood my menstrual cycle better. Now, in this same category, I wish that I would have learned how to wear a tampon sooner. Especially with me being an athlete and specifically playing volleyball. You know, we have to wear the tight little spandex. And so anytime my period would come around, I would always feel so embarrassed because I would just have like the big pad on me and it felt like I was wearing a diaper. You could kind of see it through my spandex. And I just did not know how to wear a tampon. My mom never showed me how to wear a tampon. I don't even think my mom has ever worn tampons. So I just did not know. I didn't start wearing tampons until I was a freshman in college. And because I was like, I cannot keep wearing these big old diaper things like while I'm in college. And honestly, I was terrified of putting in a tampon. I was a virgin. I'd never had any kind of object going inside of my vagina before, and it honestly just weirded me out so much. But I conquered my fear, and it was honestly one of the best things that I could have ever done because tampons literally changed my life. Now I didn't have to worry about, you know, changing my pad every 3 to 4 hours. I could go 6 to 8 hours with wearing my tampon. I didn't have to worry about somebody seeing my pad and my spandex while I'm in a volleyball game. Like, my confidence just skyrocketed. Like, I just felt like I was able to do more on my period. And even now today, I still wear tampons, but now I've kind of transitioned into the menstrual cup situation, which again, girl, I was terrified of the menstrual cups because you telling me that I gotta squeeze this and then stick it up there and it's just gonna pop. No. But I actually found a menstrual cup that it doesn't really suction. It kind of just forms to your body. It's called Nixit, I believe is the brand. And it's pretty much just like a circular disc. And it doesn't have the little piece that comes out at the bottom. So it's literally just like a silicone disc that you squeeze and then you insert it. And it just opens up and forms to the shape of your vagina. So there's no suction involved, which honestly gives me a sigh of relief because I'm very nervous about things getting stuck up there. And I just think that if it was suctioned, like then I would have to like yank and pull. But with this, I could literally just like stick my finger in and pull it out. You know, y'all don't need to know all the intricacies. Those are things that I wish that I would have known sooner, was how to wear a tampon. Also understanding my menstrual cycle, the different phases, even like fertility. I feel like when I was growing up, I feel like it's different now again, but when I was growing up, I was kind of led to believe that you were just fertile. Like if you have sex, you're gonna get pregnant. And so they made it to where it was kind of just like this scary thing, like, oh, you're gonna get pregnant, like it's okay, don't do it. But you realize there's literally only 1 to 2 days out of the month where you're fertile. Like who would have known? I wouldn't have known, not when I was 17, 18 years old. So it's really just crazy how like you get older and you start realizing things. And I feel like in the midst of that realization, you kind of think about how much easier and how much less stress you would have had as a teenager and as a young adult if you would have known these things sooner. Okay, I guess speaking of fertility and stuff, we can go into the next thing I have on my list, which is sex, okay? And I don't really have anything specific about sex. I just put this on here as an all-encompassing subject because, again, my parents made it seem like just don't do it. Like I couldn't ask any questions. I couldn't get any information from them. Anytime the subject was brought up, it was just like, you know, you're not supposed to be doing that, right? And so I was kind of scared to ask them questions because I just felt like I was going to get shut down, or I felt like, you know, they were going to think that I was doing it when really I just wanted to know and I was just curious. So because I lived in this little bubble, and because my parents didn't really teach me anything, I had I don't even know what to call it. I just had very construed misconceptions about sex and what it looked like, how it was going to feel, what it was going to be like, what did it entail, right? Like I literally knew nothing. So, of course, when you know nothing as a kid and everybody else around you is talking about these things, you kind of take matters into your own hands and just try and figure it out yourself, okay? I remember I was in the 4th grade, I believe, and we were on the playground just playing like innocent little kids. And all of a sudden, this girl comes up and she's like, so and so is a lesbian. And I'm like, what? Like, what is that? What does that even mean? Like, I had no idea. And of course, everybody in the group starts laughing. Ha ha ha, so and so is a lesbian, blah, blah, blah. One, that is bullying. Two, I felt so like out of the loop because I'm like, what is a lesbian? So I go home and I Google lesbian. And I know that y'all can just imagine what comes up. Like the porn, the pictures, like it was just not a good sight for a 4th grader to see. And it wasn't good for my parents to find in the web browser history, okay? Back in the day, I know some of y'all don't know about this, but back in the day, it used to be one family computer. And you could trace back everything that was searched. And yeah, I got in so much trouble for that. And my parents were like, why are you looking this up? And I'm like, well, they were talking about it at school. Like, I don't know. But that just goes to show, like, okay, I had no business Googling that in the 4th grade. Those 4th graders had no business knowing that word, right? But what I'm trying to say is parents try so hard to like shelter you from certain things, but they can only do it so much. Like at some point, somebody else is going to come and like teach you something that your parents didn't teach you. So I almost feel like it would just be better if my parents were like, look, some people gay, some people lesbians, this is sex. And maybe I would have been all right. Maybe I wouldn't have been so curious about it. But because I had literally no idea, had never even heard the word before, I was just kind of like, oh, my curiosity got the better of me and I definitely got punished for it. But yeah, I just had no clue like what happened with sex. I didn't know what to expect with sex. I didn't know like if it was supposed to be scary, if it was supposed to be nice and happy, because when you watch all the movies they make it seem like, oh, this great and amazing thing and it feels so good and it's just like the best thing ever. But do I want I'm like, do I want to talk about my first time? Oh my gosh, we about to get personal. Okay, so I lost my virginity. I was 19. I think I was 19, almost 20, or maybe I had just turned 20. I can't fully remember, but I was definitely in college when it happened. I honestly like remember it happening and I was just kind of like, what? Like, this is what all the fuss is about? Like, it was my first time. I had no clue what to expect. I didn't know if we even did it right. Like, it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, okay. So I think because my parents didn't talk to me about sex, I had a very unrealistic expectation of like how it was going to go, what it was going to feel like. And I wish that someone would have told me like, hey, your first time might not be enjoyable. Your first time might hurt a little bit. Your first time, there might be a little bit of blood, right? So, but people don't talk about that because people think it's taboo. Maybe they just aren't comfortable talking about it. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just something that I wish that I would have known and would have been prepared for, because it just would have been nice to. Okay, moving on from sex. Goodness gracious. All right, the next thing I have on my list of things I wish I knew sooner is understanding feminine hygiene and health. I did not know what pH levels were. I barely knew what discharge was, y'all. I have so many embarrassing stories. I am literally outing myself on the podcast today, but listen to this. So I'm in high school. I think I was in like 9th grade, maybe 10th. And I remember going to the bathroom. We were getting ready for volleyball practice, okay? I remember going into the bathroom and peeing, and I saw just like a bunch of white stuff in my underwear, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And I didn't want to ask anybody else in the locker room because I didn't want to be that weird girl that just had white stuff coming out of her vagina and sitting in her underwear. Like, I literally thought that it was gross and that it wasn't supposed to be there and something was wrong with me. So I just kind of like kept quiet about this. I didn't tell nobody at school. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my sister. This is just something that I sat with for a long time, probably until I was like a junior in high school. And I remember another day, okay, we were in the locker room. I'm older at this time. I'm talking to someone who is a senior, and I don't know how we got on the subject, but she's like, yeah, my discharge, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, discharge? And she's like, yeah, you know, like the stuff that's in your underwear, like it's called discharge. And I was like, so you have that too? Like, I was more so flabbergasted at the fact that like somebody else had this white stuff in their underwear. I was just kind of like, you have that too? Like, oh my gosh. And she's like, yeah, like every girl has that. Like, what are you talking about? I don't remember how we got on that subject, but I was so grateful in that moment to know that I was a normal girl, that the white stuff in my underwear was not something weird. It's actually good, and it can tell you a lot about your body and where you're at in your fertility and in your menstrual cycle. Like, your discharge says a lot about your body and what's going on in there. So it was just kind of like a relief, like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, I'm not some weird girl with this white stuff in her underwear, okay? But even still, I didn't learn about, you know, the different, I don't want to say types of discharge, but like what your discharge can mean until probably like, honestly, y'all, 3 years ago. Like, I had no idea that when my discharge is milky and like runny and slimy, that like I'm my most fertile. So even still, just like as I'm getting older, there are still things that I'm learning about my body. And is it embarrassing? I guess, yeah, a little bit, because it's like, dang, I really should have known this. But at the same time, like, I cannot fault myself because I did not have anyone to teach me. But in that same realm, I did not know that your vagina was supposed to have a certain level of pH. I did not know that, you know, your sexual partners can alter your pH. What you eat and drink can alter your pH. I didn't even really know what a pap smear was until, y'all, when did I learn what a pap smear was? Probably when I was like 23. Because I think you're supposed to make your first gynecologist appointment when you turn, I don't know, is it like 25 or something? It honestly might be a little bit sooner. But I did not have my first gynecologist appointment until I was pregnant with Ace at 27 years old. Actually, I was 26 at the time. I had just made 26 that year. So I was 26 the first time that I went to the gynecologist and got my first pap smear. Again, my mom was not telling me, hey, you need to go and like start getting your annual checkups. Like, you need to make sure everything is all good up there. I didn't go because I didn't feel like that it was important, but it is very important. And I remember when I went to my doctor and she was like, you've never had a pap smear before? And I was like, no, this is my first time and I'm pregnant. She's like, okay. But yeah, again, these are all just things that I did not understand about feminine health and feminine hygiene. Oh my goodness, like knowing how to wash and clean your vagina. No one told me that I'm supposed to use unscented soap. No one told me that I'm not supposed to actually put soap inside of my vagina. No one told me that my vagina is actually self-cleaning and that you really don't have to do much to it at all. So I used to be washing my poor little vagina with the Bath and Body Works soap. And it just wasn't good. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have to get the stench away. I can't smell. I don't want to smell like a fish. Like, oh my gosh, all the things that the little boys tell you when you're in middle school and high school. Oh, she smells like a fish. Ha ha ha. Like, shut up. But yeah, I was so self-conscious of that. So I'm like literally scrubbing my life away, only to realize I'm throwing off my pH balance. And then this is not good. So now I know I only use sensitive soap around that area. I do not put anything inside. I clean around it. And she's just gonna smell whatever she smells like, because having a smelly vagina is normal. Now, if it is a foul smell and it is a fishy smell, then that's probably not normal. Your pH balance is probably off and something's going on. You need to go check it out. But if there's like a little stench and you know what your smell is, like, that is completely normal. Moving on, the next thing that I wish I knew sooner was how to apply makeup. I wish somebody would have told me like how to do my makeup, and not even like beat my face, but maybe put on a little tinted moisturizer, throw on some blush, put on some mascara, run some eyebrow gel through your eyebrows, and like, you're good to go. You know, I don't think that young women should be wearing tons and tons of makeup, especially not to school. Like, yeah, if you're going to prom, if you got something important, graduation, like, yeah, beat full face. I'm here for it. But like every single day when you're 13 years old and you're 16 years old, like, I don't know. I'm just not with that. Maybe it's just because my parents never really allowed me to wear makeup when I was that young. But every time I see it, it just kind of like throws me off when it's just like beat cake face on a middle schooler and a high schooler. And even like the lashes, y'all, my sisters, my twin sisters, they are 13 years old, and they will come home telling me about the little girls who have literally a full set of eyelashes like to their eyebrows at 13. Like, that's just something that I don't understand. So I wish that there was somebody, an adult, telling them like, hey, you don't need that. But like, we can try this way. We can put on a little bit of mascara. We can put on a little bit of blush and have you looking cute, but not looking like you too grown, you know? Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I just wish that I would have learned how to apply my makeup sooner. You know, when I got to college, I had no idea what I was doing, and I looked a hot ass mess. I'm gonna just be completely honest. Nothing was blended. My eyebrows looked like squares. The lip liner like was non-existent. It just was not a good scene. So I wish that I would have had somebody, again, teach me how to do my makeup so I'm not falling into the trends. I'm not looking like I drew my eyebrows on. I still just want to look natural and put together. In addition to that, I wish somebody would have showed me how to have a basic skincare routine, because when I was growing up, I didn't have a skincare routine. I didn't know that I was supposed to cleanse my face. I didn't know that I was supposed to actually take my makeup off before I went to bed. Again, I'm not saying that like as a young girl, you need to have a 15-step skincare routine. I wish somebody would have just said, you need a cleanser, you need a toner, and you need a moisturizer. And like, that's it, you're good to go. And I had really bad acne when I was in middle school and high school, and I didn't do anything for it because I didn't have any skincare products. I don't even know if my parents know what a skincare routine is. My mama definitely don't have one, and my daddy for sure don't. So it was just kind of like I was just out here with no type of guidance. Even my sister to this day, my sister is about to be 31 years old. And to this day, she does not have a skincare routine. She does not believe in washing her face. And guess what? Her skin is literally perfect. But me, on the other hand, I was struggling. I've been struggling with my skin. I still have like some dark spots and hyperpigmentation on my cheeks. It's just something that I've always had to struggle with. So again, I wish that someone would have shown me how to take care of my skin and the benefits that it could have for me in the long run. Okay, the next thing I wish I knew sooner was how to be confident in myself. I struggled a lot with my self-esteem and my confidence and just kind of embracing who I was, my authenticity, my uniqueness. There were a lot of things that I was just kind of very self-conscious about. So I wasn't as confident back then as I am now, because kids were mean and they used to tease me for a lot of things. They used to tease me about my forehead and how, oh, your forehead is so big, you got a 5 head. Like, so stupid. They used to tease me about my eyes. They used to say that I had Chinese eyes and like literally make fun of me and pull their eyes to make them look like slitted like that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Chinese eyes. I'm just saying, like, back then, that's just what kids would say. What else? They used to make fun of my hair, all kinds of things. Like, it was just really bad. And a lot of it I really internalized, and it caused me to have a lot of confidence issues growing up. And it took a lot to get to the point where I am now, to kind of break down all of those hurtful comments and things that people would say about me, and truly learn and embrace that, like, I am beautiful. These are the things that make me unique and different, and like, because of that, that is what makes me beautiful. But back then, child, I was just trying everything that I could to get people to stop talking about me. I would never wear a slick back like this. I would always have like a bang or a piece of hair kind of covering the top of my forehead so that people couldn't make fun of my 5 head. I always tried to like keep my eyes open wide when I would talk to people or when I would smile, because I didn't want people to, talk about my eyes. I always straightened my hair so that people wouldn't talk about like my curly hair. And there were just so so many things that I altered and changed about myself, and so many things that I was so self-conscious about that literally now today I don't give a second thought about. You can't tell me nothing, okay? There's nothing you can say about me that I don't already know about myself. And because I've already accepted it and embraced it as a part of me, there's nothing that you can say that would actually hurt me either. Okay, I have 3 more on this list. The next one is how to date and what to expect on a date. Again, very sheltered child. Did not go on my first date until I was a freshman in college. And let's just say he only wanted one thing, okay? And that's what your parents tell you when you're young. You're like, oh, the boys only want one thing. Like, you don't need to be dating, da 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 da. But again, just saying that you don't need to do something is not really going to help the situation for when it does happen, because I was not prepared for my first date. I did not know what to expect. I did not know what to do. I was just all like excited and giddy and like ready to go. And we went to the movies, and he's trying to hold my hand in the movies. He's trying to make out with me at the movies. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? Then he drives me back to the dorm, and we're just sitting in the car, and what be trying to go down in the parking lot of the dormitory. So it was just like I wasn't fully prepared for like what could have happened that night. Because nobody ever talked to me about like what a date looks like, what's supposed to happen on a date, how a guy is supposed to treat you on a date. Like, no, we didn't have these types of conversations. So I just kind of felt like, oh, I'm being mean. Like, I need to just let him do whatever he wants to do. Now, luckily, I didn't do that. I had enough common sense to be like, no, I don't want to do this. And especially not in the car of the parking lot. But yeah, like, again, I just didn't have anybody tell me like, this is what you're going to expect on a date. I didn't have my dad take me on a date and, be an example of like what a date is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to go. I'm just kind of like, oh, this boy called me up. He said he wanted to go to the movies, and we went. But I guess this kind of piggyback into the next thing that I was going to say. I wish that I would have learned how to set boundaries sooner, because if I would have known how to set boundaries before I went on that date, I could have, laid the ground rules and been like, look, ain't no kissing, ain't no making out, ain't no sucking on the neck, ain't no, all of that. Like, I could have been like, this is what it's going to be. If you cross over these boundaries, then like politely, I'm going to have to leave the date. But I did not know how to set boundaries. So I really had to learn like how to set boundaries, how to tell people no respectfully, how to make sure that like I'm being respected in the way that I want to be. I think just with women in general, like, we're kind of conditioned to be people pleasers and conditioned to just do what people ask of us without questioning it. We're conditioned to always apologize, even though things aren't necessarily our fault. And that is what causes a lot of women in their later years in life to not be able to set boundaries, because they've never been given the opportunity to before. We're kind of taught that our entire life is to be a service to others, is to be the caretaker, is to be the nurturer, is to make sure everything is running smoothly and everything is going the way that it's supposed to be, right? Everyone has everything that they need. But at some point, like, you have to boss up and learn how to say no. You have to boss up and learn how to set boundaries for yourself, and really like let people know that you're not just here for them to do whatever, whenever. It's not rude to set boundaries. It's not rude to say no. It's not rude to stop somebody from doing something. Like, those are all things that we as women especially need to be able to do. Like, you need to just be able to be like, look, these are the boundaries. This is what it is. And I don't want to hear nothing else about it. Okay. And then the last thing that I have on my list of things I wish I knew sooner was your heartbreak is not the end. Oh my gosh. I wish somebody would have told me this, because when you have like your first boyfriend, or even like your second or third or fourth, we get into these relationships thinking, oh, this is my husband. Oh, he's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Oh, he's my entire life. And then when they break your heart, it's just kind of like your world is crashing down around you and nothing makes sense anymore. And you're just sad and depressed and crying every single day because you thought that this person was your forever. But if it's one thing I do know, is that your heartbreak is not the end of the world and life goes on. I had a very, very hard breakup when I was in high school. I was a senior in high school. I had been dating this guy. He didn't even go to the same school as me. We were like head over heels for each other, you know, obsessed. And we dated for, I don't even remember how long we dated, honestly, but I think it was probably a year or a little bit less. And I just remember us talking about our future, how we were going to get married and have kids and all this other kind of stuff, right? And come to find out, he went back to his ex-girlfriend that he had broken up with before he got with me. I was just kind of like, is it my fault? Like, what did I do? And everything was just crashing down around me. And I remember crying in my bed every single day, and my mom coming up in my room trying to pray for me and like pray the depression off of me. But that was really such a hard breakup, because that was the first time that I ever saw like a future with someone. And it just felt like I would never get over it. But you do get over it. You always get over it. And there's always going to be someone out there that's better and greater, who's going to make you forget about whoever else was in your life before. So even though it might feel like it's the end of the world now, it's really not. And a breakup is just an opportunity for you to spend some time with yourself, discover what you like, try new hobbies. You know, like it really is a time for you to just kind of be selfish, which is nice. So with that, that is going to end this episode of Things I Wish I Knew Sooner as a woman. This was so funny to just kind of think about, you know, going down memory lane and thinking about all the silly things that I thought when I was a kid, and just honestly being ignorant. You know, I didn't know any better. Some things today as a 28-year-old woman, I still don't know, but we're going to continue learning as we grow in life, as one does. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a comment or a review. I love reading them. I love you so much. I hope you have a great Monday, a great week, and I'll talk to you in my next episode. Bye.